Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. So if you are new to this channel and you have been following the videos, kindly like, subscribe and share for more so that you don't miss out on anything. So we are going to be looking at the types of proteins and protein folding. So the types of proteins that we might have are, we might look at the fibrous proteins. Let's look at three of them. We have the globular protein, we have the integral proteins, or rather not integral proteins, but let's look at what we call membrane proteins. So let's begin with our fibrous protein. So when you look at a fiber, you expect something that is more like a long straight thread, like that. So now when we look at our fibrous proteins, so fibrous proteins are just long thread-like. So we can say that they are long thread-like and are very much soluble in water. Most of them, they are soluble in water. So that are soluble in water. So these are soluble in water. Now when we look at these, if you look at a fiber itself, you expect a fiber to be strong for it to withstand tension and all that. So the fibrous protein, the function of the fibrous protein is to provide what we call structural supports. Number one, structural support and strength, like that. So this is what we call the fibrous proteins. So now the examples of fibrous proteins that we can have is keratin, which is found in hair. We might have nails. Yeah. Then when we look at our collagen, which forms connective tissue. So we have the collagen which forms the connective tissue. So we have connective tissue there. The example that we might have is tendons. So tendons, you can see that tendons that joins one bone to a muscle. So these have to be really, really strong. So we have connective, we might have collagen, like that. The other example that we might have is elastin, which from the onset, elastin helps in the skin being elastic. So this one helps in the skin's elasticity. So just as you can hear, so that is everything about the fibrous proteins. When we look at our globular proteins on the other hand, so globular proteins on the other hand, what we are going to have is, so these proteins are number one, spherical. So these are proteins that are spherical. They are also compact, meaning to say they are more like compressed, like that. So they are compact and usually soluble in water, and most of them are usually soluble in water. So the function of these, they are important in number one, metabolism. So metabolism, we also have transport, we have other things. We have transport, we have metabolism. So the examples that we might have under these are, number one, to remember the globular proteins, we are going to have spherical. Remember that the globe is spherical, so they are spherical, they are compact, so they help in metabolism, they help in transport. So the examples that we might have under this are enzymes. So enzymes are spherical. We have enzymes. We might have haemoglobin, which is a part of the red blood cells. We might also have things like hormones such as insulin. So these are examples of spherical. These are examples of globular proteins. So you can just talk about, so if you were given a question in an exam, you should even include some of the functions to score full marks. If it's maybe 3 marks, you can talk about globular proteins. These are proteins that are spherical and compact and are mostly soluble in water. Their function is for metabolism and transport. Examples of these, we might have enzymes, haemoglobin, and insulin. So that is it for globular proteins. We might have membrane proteins. So we might have membrane proteins. So the membrane proteins, these are just proteins that are mostly embedded in cell membranes. Sometimes they might be peripheral, or rather on the surface of the cell membrane. So if you have the cell membrane like this, sometimes there are proteins which form channels like that space between the membrane, which allows things to pass, is what we call the protein channel. So this one. So this is where substances can enter, big substances and all that. We might have surface membrane, which are called peripheral proteins like that. So basically, that's that about the types of proteins. So in case they ask you for the types of proteins, you first have to define. These are the best examples. Then if they're asking for 3, that's when you can include that one. Then let's just look at the level of organization. So levels of organization, we are simply talking about how these amino acids are number 1 arranged. So number 1 arranged, and number 2, the second thing that we might have is so how they are arranged and also how they are folded. So protein folding plays a very important role in the function of a protein. So when we look at this, we are going to have what we call the primary structure. So the primary structure is formed in a linear chain. So if we have amino acids like that, so we might have that. So now this is a linear, so it continues like that, like that, like that. So under this one, we just have a linear chain like that. So this is what we call primary structure. So they are just sequences of amino acids in a chain. So we can add linear sequences of amino acids in a chain. So these are important for higher levels of folding. So the second thing that is there is what we call the secondary. So this is the primary structure, then we are going to have the secondary structure. So the secondary structure is made up of these same local shapes in a chain. So under this one, we can simply say that the protein chain starts to fold. So the protein chain starts to fold into what we call alpha helices. So helices is the plural for helix, and what we call a beta-pleated sheets. Beta-pleated sheets. So what we can have is that let's say, for example, when the linear structures bonds together, they begin to fold. So when they fold, they might form what we call the helices. Helices, meaning to say there are a lot of folds. It can continue like that. So that is the structure like that. So that is the structure. So this is alpha helices. Then the other thing that we might have is, we have mentioned the beta-pleated sheets. So these look like something like this. Looks like something like this. Yeah, like that. So these are beta-pleated sheets. So these are beta-pleated sheets like that. So one thing that you must know is that the secondary structure was made up of these. So these are separate. Then for the tertiary structure, we might have feather folding, and also it is made up of the alpha helices and helices. So it is made up of alpha helices and also what we are going to call the beta plates. So both of these are more like combined. So we might have something like this. We might have something like this. Then we have alpha helix. Yeah, like that. So they are combined. So structures are combined like that. So this is what we basically call the tertiary structures. So there is feather folding to produce more structures, which leads to the creation of tertiary structure. So one thing that you must know about secondary structures is that they are held together by hydrogen bonds. So they are held together by hydrogen bonds. So tertiary creates the 3D structures. So the structure might look like something like this. So this is the level of organization. We might have something like this. Okay, so we might have something like this, like that. So this is basically the structure where we could have the alpha helix like that, combined with the beta plates, which are structures that are looking like this. We have the alpha helix. They are combined together in that manner. So this is the structure that might be formed like that. So this is the structure that might be formed. The other structure that we have is, last but not the least, we have the quaternary structure. So you can just think of it as school. We have primary, secondary, and tertiary. Then if we have quaternary structure, this one is made up of many tertiary structures. So these are made up of many tertiary structures. So if we have, let's say we have this type of a structure, this type of a tertiary structure, then we might have another thing there. So this is what we might have. Then what we are going to get is a tertiary structure. So this tertiary structure is a quaternary structure, meaning to say there are a lot of them like that. There are a lot of tertiary structure. So that is all about what we call quaternary structure. So just to mention something about the bonds that make the tertiary are, number one, peptides. So peptides, remember how we drew the amino acids in the previous video. We have also what we call the disulfide, meaning to say two sulfur bonding together. We have hydrogen bonds. So we have hydrogen bonds. We have ionic bonds. So there are a lot of bonds. We might have hydrophobic bonds and van der Waals bonds. So that is all about the levels of folding. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you would like, subscribe, and share for more. See you in the next tutorial.